Friday.
I don't. You going out after work?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. You're not going anywhere.
No, I think I'm making shrimp tonight.
Ooh, shrimp.
Shrimp. Last week I tried to make shrimp and I left them out overnight, thinking that it was cold enough that they would stay good. And when I got to them, they were room temperature. So
That's not good.
That's not good. Is this working? Let's refresh.
Refresh that, Jonathan.
I don't know if we're live, but if we are live, we're live.
We might be live. Maybe people are jumping on board. You're with us already? We are live. Jonathan, refresh
16
that thing.
people? Okay.
Hey.
Good morning, Linda Hill.
Good morning, good morning. It's good to have you all with us.
And Rachel Stevenson.
All right.
All right. So, morning has broken, and we are your consecrated hosts.
I am Father Jeff, consecrated by holy orders.
And I'm Jonathan, consecrated by baptism.
Here we are again. This is our Friday show.
Friday, 3 shows in.
3 shows in.
And there's still people coming back.
And they're still coming back. How you guys doing today? Hopefully all is well. I know the weekend maybe doesn't mean as much as it used to, since many people are now working from home and are at home all the time. But, yeah, you know, such is life.
Hey, you still got to kind of go with the normal Flannel Friday.
Flannel Friday. Tell me about that shirt, Jonathan.
Well, when I was missionary at the University of Maryland,
yes,
as a focus missionary, a couple students and I decided, hey, let's do something on Fridays. Flannel Fridays.
Like Throwback Thursday, Flannel Friday.
Yeah. We had Chopsticks February at one point. We can get into that at some point.
Oh, these are stories of Jonathan's past.
Yeah, and so Flannel Friday, we wore a different flannel every Friday. I had some different ones. This is a nice one, actually. I think this is from Colombia.
Nice.
And it's nice and colorful. So you usually don't get flannel that's this vibrant.
I like that color. Green. If you remember, green is my favorite color. That is a chartreuse, which also is a good digestif made by the monks at Le Grand Chartreuse. Very medicinal.
What's a digestif?
Digestif.
Digestive.
A liqueur. A little after dinner drink, but it's the morning, so maybe it's a little too early to be talking about all of that.
Oh, I could go for limoncello right now.
No. Well, too sweet. Far too sweet.
That's the way I roll.
Oh my gosh, what is with this weather?
It is so cold.
It is
windy.
chilly. And the dog today, when I took him out, of course, he decided he had to smell every little spot before deciding where he was going to make his mark, and I was standing out in that wind. Not a pleasant experience. So for me, it is shawl collar Friday.
Well, it's a different look for you.
You know, try to keep things. Just because you wear black doesn't mean you have to be boring.
Very true.
Exactly.
I've got a dad joke for you, Father
Please
Jeff.
share.
I saw this one yesterday, and I love a good dad joke. So
I can't wait.
Well, the problem with my dad joke is
Just give me the dad joke.
Due to the coronavirus, I'm going to have to keep it inside.
Bum. You don't have to heart that one. In fact,
you can dislike.
You can sigh on that one. All of you who are checking in today.
All right. So one quick thing: if you have not followed us, please follow us. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube because we're still having issues with it. And so hopefully, if we can stream from a phone, we need 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
It'd be awesome.
And that we're going to be putting a lot of content. That's where we usually put content.
Yes.
And so that, once this is all over, that is a great place to get contents like our theology nights and other things that our Sunday homilies are on there.
Absolutely.
And so the other thing, if all of you right now could share this and anything that we're streaming, share with your friends because we want to be able to reach everybody. Not everybody knows that we have a Facebook. Not everybody knows that you can access the Facebook even if you don't have a Facebook account.
Absolutely.
So share it with your friends. We'll try to get as many people. We want to build this community. So let's get that done. And yeah, I guess we can get going.
Looks like Atkinson has 3 to 4 inches of snow, but the sun is shining. The sun is shining here as well. We just had a dusting of snow this morning. I think it's all pretty much gone as soon as that sun got up, so thank goodness for that.
Susan Schrader just commented on your great fashion sense.
Thank you! I'm rather proud of that. I tried to stay ahead of the curve in clerical fashion wear. So.
Don't feed into him, please.
Oh, Jonathan. So I noticed we had a couple things left over from yesterday that maybe we want to address today. And keep your questions and your comments coming because we like to interact with you who are watching from home. So yesterday, Jonathan, we were talking about indulgences. And the indulgence, one of the questions was, so if I merit an indulgence for someone who has died, but they're already in heaven, what happens to the grace of that indulgence? And it sounds like a good question. But let's just take a step back from that question for a moment. Because we have to remember that the time in which we live and eternity are two different things.
Okay.
So for God and eternity, every moment is present, is the present moment for God. Every moment that we experience, God sees together and all at once. So when I offer my full and plenary indulgence today for my grandmother who is deceased, then when God receives that, He receives that at the moment of her death. And this is my day right here to participate in her salvation as she is being saved. So I could merit a plenary indulgence for my grandmother every single day of my life if I chose, and every single one of those plenary indulgences would be full and active because it is my entry into the participation of her salvation with Jesus Christ.
Got a question.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned doing a plenary indulgence every day.
Yes.
For someone that's already died.
Correct.
Don't they only need one?
They only need one. But the reality is, I have many, many days of life. And so I could just merit a different one for someone every day. But maybe, especially if I'm in a moment of grief, that being able to participate in my grandmother's salvation for multiple days is super important for me. Theoretically, you only need to go to one Mass. Why would I ever have to go to Mass again? But we go repeatedly, even though it's the same sacrifice that is being presented to us, because we want to encounter it in today. And so, meriting a plenary indulgence for someone that has died, you can do that daily, and it's your participation in their salvation today.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Present moment. It's as if, yesterday was yesterday. Today is today. What are you going to do today?
I guess,
Jonathan?
Right now that leads us into something we wanted to talk about.
Please.
The normalcy of what is today.
What is today?
Because right now I see a lot of people wanting to say, I can't wait until this is over, this is what I'm going to do, but we don't know when this is going to end. And so you talked to me a little bit about how looking to the future is actually pretty detrimental to us.
Absolutely. So yeah, I read an article this morning that the headline of that article was, when is this all going to be over, and when are we going to get our lives back to normal? And I absolutely think that is the wrong question to be asking, because it puts the future, it's like chasing that mirage. The more you move towards the mirage, the further away it gets. And you never ever get there. And so all of this time that I'm living right now is just wasted. It's thrown out the window.
Okay.
C.S. Lewis in the Screwtape Letters, there's a beautiful chapter on recognizing the present, the past, and the future. And the present is really the only time that you and I are living in. But the tempter wants to get us into the past and drag us down. Like keep us weighed down with all of our mistakes and all of those bad things and all of that stuff and never let us move forward. Or he draws us into the future so that we're hoping for, like, oh, when I graduate, then things will be better. When I get through this thing, then things will be better. When I ... then my life can finally start.
That reminds me a little bit of the posts I saw at the turn of the year. I think the last 2 years, it's like, thank God 2018's over. Thank God 2019's over. So I can get on to 2020 because 2019 was a hell of a year.
Exactly.
And now look at us.
Here we are.
I think there's trials and tribulations every year. We're always
All
going
the
to
time.
have adversity. And the thing is, we have to face it and make the best of it.
This is normal. This is normal right now. This is the new normal. And we don't know how long it's going to last, but God is bringing us graces right now that we should be living in and that we should be experiencing. So rather than saying, oh, well, we just have to keep putting things off, we can't be doing this, that, or the other thing, whatever, just to embrace the now. That rather than saying, I'll wait till some future moment, live today. Otherwise, we sacrifice the graces that God is giving us today for some future that doesn't exist. Live in today. And it's just, sink into it. You could be negative, or you could be positive.
Well, I think we should be positive.
I hope so, Jonathan.
We have to make the best of every day.
And with that cheery shirt and that chartreuse, I am very positive.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
We had a comment about Mass.
Oh, that was a good comment. Lynette, I think, posted that one.
Oh, what is the stance?
What postures, what stances should we
Proper
be?
Stance, yeah.
Yeah, that's Lynette, someone I know from Columbus. Hi, Lynette. What are the proper stances for us when participating in a stay-at-home Mass? Do we also do the spiritual communion prayer after the consecration? So here, this is a great question because, again, living in the now.
Sure.
We have to live in the now. So if you can't participate in the communal celebration of Mass because it's been suspended, or if you just, we need to create a new normal. So, Jonathan, what I would recommend everyone to do is, first of all, to try to create sacred space and sacred time. Okay. We're a sacramental people,
yep.
And we do these things. So what do we do? How do we create these things?
So not just sit on the couch.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm watching Netflix or I'm watching television or if I'm watching, Jonathan and Father Jeff in their morning show and I'm in my PJs and sipping my orange juice or my coffee or my chartreuse, then hey, we want to make Mass look a little differently, I think. So the first thing I would do is I would encourage everybody to create a home altar. That pick a table, if you have a card table or a coffee table or something that you can do without using on a regular basis,
and it can be simple.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be ornate. Just let's create an altar. Maybe it's even a trunk or a suitcase that you're not using. I don't know. Create a home altar. And we're going to build one here today. This is our arts and crafts section.
All right.
of the morning. So we're going to build a home altar right here, and we're going to use the table that we have in front of us. So, Jonathan, the first thing that we need for this table is we need to dress it, because we don't want the table to be naked. So we want to dress it, and you can use any cloth. I think a white cloth is better because it resembles the cloth of an altar. And so it reminds us of the resurrection, it reminds us of Jesus Christ. So drape a white cloth over that. You can
what
see
if we
this
don't have a nice white cloth like this?
Hey, this one I just pulled out of the sacristy drawer. It's, one of these crocheted things. This is a great, I'm sure they have these at Goodwill. So go there when the parking lot is empty. Or, maybe you've got a pillowcase, a white pillowcase, or a light colored pillowcase. I'm sure you have something.
Perfect.
Temporarily, roll out some paper towels if that's what you got.
But even a pillowcase would work.
A pillowcase, yeah. Just let's create a tablecloth, okay? And then, what should our central focus here be, Jonathan?
Jesus.
Yes. We want to have Jesus be our central focus. And so, if you have a crucifix, if you have a cross, something that you can place central, that's important. That is, it's always present at the altar because it reminds us of who Jesus, what's happening.
Can it be laying down if we don't have one that stands up?
If you don't have a nice a stand-up one like this, absolutely prop it up. Maybe put it on one of those cookbook holders or something like that. You can prop it up on some books or however you do it. Be creative. Then we like to adorn the cross with a candle or a couple candles. Again, we're mirroring the altar in church. And so you can build your own altar with candles like this. These are just simple, tea lights. You can get tea lights or something like that. Yeah. And a couple candles, or if you have a prayer candle that you use, this is a great idea here. You don't have a tabernacle.
We don't have
a tabernacle here. And so again, if you remember what I said the other day, what is the tabernacle in your home?
The Bible.
The Bible. The Word that is made flesh. And so perhaps you will want to display your open Bible upon your altar so that we can see, so that the scriptures, or even have the words there.
Prop it up.
So that it has a nice look to it. Okay. Then we like to remember the participation of the angels and saints. And the intercession of Blessed Mary is so important for us. So if you have a particular patron for your family, or a particular patron of your parish, or the Virgin Mary, this is a great idea to have a statue of the Virgin or another saint there nearby. Then we want to bless ourselves. Jonathan, some holy water. Perhaps you've gotten some water from the church, had it blessed, got it from the urn or whatever. So we're going to fill up our little dish here and just set it on the other side of our station that we can bless ourselves with holy water when we're ready to start and complete our prayer actions. And then finally, one last thing that I would recommend doing is find maybe a box or a bowl or a vase or a dish or something like this little box to keep nearby. And what I would recommend is maybe take a piece of paper like this Post-it, and every day, what is your prayer intention or what is your prayer petition?
Oh, okay.
Like, I want to offer this Mass today for my grandmother who died a few years ago. And so I write her name and the intention on that thing, and I put it in the prayer box at my altar. That is my intention for today. That is my prayer for today.
And you're literally offering it up.
And I'm literally offering it up.
Very cool.
So here is a prayer station. So one of the things that I would recommend, Jonathan, is that maybe people can build their home altars, their prayer stations.
That'd be great.
And send us pictures of them.
Please send us pictures. We'd love to post them so we could give other people ideas.
How do they send their pictures?
Send your pictures. Either email it to us at jonathan@scbccomaha.org. You can find it on the website. That would probably be the easiest way.
Yeah.
And if you have my number, text me. If you don't have my number, email it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can they put it just up on Facebook?
You can put it on Facebook if
Just
you
add it to the
can
Facebook.
share it to us.
Absolutely. We want to see your home altars and give people ideas. So this creates a sort of sacred space. Now to get to Lynette's question, what do we do when we participate in the Mass? Should we be doing the gestures? Should we be doing the postures that we normally do?
And same thing with all the things, like the Liturgy of the Hours that you said last night at 7 p.m. every
Litany
night.
of the Saints.
Litany of the Saints, not
Litany of
Liturgy
the
of the
Saints.
Hours.
Yeah.
Same with Stations of the Cross this afternoon at 3. So,
Absolutely. If you can participate in the postures and the gestures, I would do that. Because I think it helps, rather than being a spectator, you become a participant. And that's important. So standing, sitting, kneeling, bowing, genuflecting, even though the Blessed Sacrament is not there present in your house, you are live streaming that, and so you are seeing that right there. It's kind of what a sacrament does anyway. Whenever we celebrate the Mass, it's like we're live streaming Calvary.
Right. And maybe instead of sitting on your couch, maybe bring a dining chair into your living room or wherever you're watching, so that you are not sitting in a normal place where you sit to eat dinner or on your couch.
I'm not sitting watching the Mass, kind of like this. I'm going to take a, I'm more recollected this way.
Right. You can set yourself apart in something that you're not normally doing.
Absolutely. So make the responses, make the gestures. I think all of that is...
Do all the responses?
Do all of the responses if possible. Do all of the gestures as well you can. And then the spiritual communion, I would make that spiritual communion when the priest is receiving communion or after he receives communion. So when we live stream our daily Mass, Jonathan is reciting the spiritual communion, and you can pray that along with him, or you can listen to that and let that come into your heart and intend it. That's an appropriate place to do that.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Great question.
Is there any follow-ups to that question before we move on?
Before we move on from this? Okay.
And it takes about 5 seconds.
I know, we've got a bit of a delay here. That's in case we have to censor Jonathan for his language. Sometimes.
Things get crazy sometimes. There's a question about confession. I don't know if we want to dig into that. Someone asked,
what is that question?
What if you don't remember all of your sins at confession?
What if you don't remember all of your sins at confession? Well, you don't remember them.
So then is it valid still?
Yes. So you want to make a good examination of conscience. And so we make our examination of conscience as best we can. And if we can't, then or if we don't remember everything, or if we forget something, like I intended to say something and I didn't. If it's a venial sin, it is taken up in that confession and forgiven. Don't worry about it. Because venial sins are not required to be confessed.
Well, and those actually are forgiven at the beginning of Mass.
They're forgiven in a penitential act. They're forgiven through a good act of contrition. They're forgiven in an intended act of charity. So if you do an act of charity with the intention of repenting of your sins, these are all great things. So venial sin's taken care of. If the sin was mortal and you forgot to confess it, you don't have to rush back to confession or pop right back in. But the next time you go to confession, make sure that you bring it up. Sure. That you announce it then, so that it is confessed. But you've been forgiven, you didn't intend to hide it. If you intend to hide it, well, then you've invalidated the sacrament. You cannot hide sins purposefully, but if it's accidental, God knows you're an idiot, and He forgives you anyway. And this is the way it is. Absolutely.
Very good. And something I've seen people do, something I've done, is write down the things you want to confess. Priests generally don't care if you bring a sheet of paper
Absolutely.
and you read off of it, because if you want to have a great confession,
be prepared.
They understand, and that you're being prepared.
And be prepared.
And you're not being lazy or anything like that. Some people have used it on their phone, and I know some priests have issues with that.
Yeah, there are some good apps that you can use, so that's great. We do have a question here from Steve asking about does a plenary indulgence end when we sin?
Good question.
So you cannot merit an indulgence unless you are in the state of grace. So you have to be in the state of grace that is from all attachment to sin. So if you are persisting in mortal sin, it is not possible to merit an indulgence. That's why confession is so important. So when we recognize that we are in sin, we should confess as soon as possible.
And so if I had an indulgence I got an indulgence last week. I attended Mass on Friday.
Okay.
Did the prayer before the crucifix.
Correct.
And then this week, I committed a mortal sin.
Okay.
Does that invalidate that
No,
indulgence?
so think about it this way, that as you go along and you go through your life and you sin, you're I'm going to use this example again. I'm going to use just a different piece of paper. Okay, so I'm sinning, so there's my sin, and there's my sin, and there's my sin, and there's my sin, and those sins are forgiven, but now they have to be made up. And so that's what I will pay for, that's my bill when it comes to purgatory.
Right.
Or, through the indulgence, those are taken away, and the slate is wiped clean. So this is my new starting point now. So now I've just committed sin again. In a sense, it starts over. So I think it's good. Every time you go to confession, it's good to, as soon as possible, merit an indulgence for yourself to overcome those things. And then to begin meriting indulgences for those who have died.
All right. John's got a follow-up question with confessions.
Yes. What is it, Jonathan?
He says, what advice would you offer those folks who confess but carry the burden of shame after confession?
Oh, that is the temptation of the evil one. The evil one wants us to live in shame. He wants us to carry that guilt, and he doesn't want us to trust in God's mercy. That is, we have to choose it. We simply have to choose that I want no longer to live in this. I may feel it, but I don't want to feel it. And so ask God to help heal the psyche, help heal the emotions, help heal those things. And I think Pope Benedict said it well, that as a Christian, we cannot help but live in gratitude. The more grateful we are, the less we can live in shame, because we realize it really isn't about me. Shame is really a part of pride. My perfection, I'm not what I'm supposed to be. Well, that's okay. God is who he is supposed to be. So the more grateful we are to God, the more we overcome.
And just because
that
we've
shame.
sinned and we've gone to confession doesn't mean there's those possible wounds there that aren't still there, and that's what you're kind of talking
Right.
about. And so, but to know that the shame is not from God. God doesn't want you to live in shame of anything, especially once you've confessed. You know, if you've done something wrong in its rightful shame,
Right.
because you've done wrongdoing against God, then that's proper. That's a proper feeling. But His forgiveness is total and complete, more than we could ever forgive anybody ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so to know that any shame that comes after that is not from Him,
It is not.
and resting assured in that.
And when you feel that, Jesus, I trust in you. I mean, that mercy prayer is just so important, and to give gratitude and thanksgiving. The glory be is such an important prayer. Such an important prayer because it just moves us to gratitude.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Chris, I see that you asked a question about the kids. Their schedules are all upended. It's hard to get them focused, particularly on schoolwork and working at home and all of this kind of stuff.
We talked about this 2 days ago, and I wanted to come back to this.
But he specifically asks, do we have a special prayer for them in this time?
Right.
Jonathan.
And so I think even for us, we need to just recenter ourselves. I found myself, we're all just a little bit discombobulated right now. And I've been so much shorter with my kids and get angrier. And reflecting back on the days, I'm just like, man, what is going on? And it's obvious what's going on, that just life is a little bit chaotic. And so just remind parents to take a deep breath, be a little extra patient, ask God for that extra patience. But then doing a prayer for your kids would be great. And so, Father Jeff, do you have any suggestions? Because I don't have any prayers.
I think there are two saints especially to reach out to during this time. I would recommend, especially for like the schoolwork and kids, St. Thomas Aquinas. He is the patron of students, theologians, especially in matters of faith and learning. So call upon St. Thomas Aquinas. But I think St. Mary Magdalene is really going to be a saint that we should be drawing more closely to, because this was my reflection the other day. We're living in a time now where so much has been stripped away from us. Mm-hmm. Maybe our routine, our friendships, our social circles, maybe even our work, because now we're at home or we're not able to work as we once did, or whatever it is. Even the sacraments and the ability to gather as parish or community has been stripped away from us. And so I was thinking, this was the experience of Mary Magdalene at the empty tomb. Like, she went to the tomb and it was empty. Jesus had been stripped away from her, and she couldn't see him or touch him or talk to him. And she was gazing into that empty tomb and she was weeping. But the gardener was standing right there next to her.
Wow.
Jesus appeared as a gardener to her. He was revealing himself to her in a new way. And so I think that Mary Magdalene has to be a great intercessor for us now. We need to turn to her. Wow. That as we look into the emptiness of the present time, and maybe what has been stripped away from us, to begin asking ourselves, how is Jesus the gardener appearing now in different ways? How is he showing up, and how is his grace active, and where am I finding him? Again, not focusing on the negative, but focusing on the positive. What are the graces that are coming today?
Sure. That's awesome. That's
absolutely.
Just kind of puts this Lent especially in just a whole new perspective.
We're already looking for Easter. It's going to be weird this year. It's going to be, I have no idea what it's going to look like yet. For those of you who are concerned about what Holy Week or what Easter Week is going to look like, I don't even know yet. The Archdiocese is going to offer us some guidelines and some things to help out next week. So more will be coming on that. Like, how can you make a Holy Week in your home, and how am I going to do that in an empty church? Or I don't even know. This is just going to blow our minds. But we're going to take this opportunity, and we're going to bring such goodness out of it.
Right, and it's kind of just everything that we're doing right now. We're called to be extra creative right now.
Absolutely.
And so the Triduum's still happening. Easter is still happening. And so you guys have to make, and we'll help you, figure out how to bring Easter into your home, because you can't bring it here.
That's right.
But we have to figure out how we can bring it to you. And that's what we're going to be working on. We have a couple weeks to figure it out.
We'll get there.
And Archdiocese is going to be helping out We have a quick things that I think we can run through very quickly. Some comments. Rachel Stevenson asked, if I veil, should I still veil at home?
Yeah, there's some Christian women, when they participate in Mass or come to church, they've taken on the practice of wearing a veil, which is a beautiful devotion. I would, if that helps you to pray, for sure. Even dressing up for Sunday Mass. You are going to Mass as well as you can, and so put on your church clothes when we live stream Sunday Mass. Be as you would as if you're... Make it as normal, as regular as you can.
Got it. We had a comment on the retreats that have been canceled. We haven't put out anything.
More to come.
More to come. We will not do the retreat online. We will probably host that first retreat in the fall. Be looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
We've put a lot of work into it, and we're really excited to share this retreat with the parish. Another comment was about thoughts on drive-through confessions, and then someone Kathy just asked, will priests do confessions during this time?
Confessions are available. The mode is a little different, particularly here at St. Charles. Go look on our website for our schedule. That will be continually updated. When you come into church here, we ask that only 10 people really be in church, and so there are 10 green X's on the floor, spaced 6 feet apart, that indicate the confession line. The confessional has been moved to the choir portion of our church here, so it is a little bit more open. It's been blocked off with some portable walls, but then that way the penitent and I can be an appropriate distance apart. There are some places that are doing confessions in parking lots, and maybe when the weather gets nicer, we might do outdoor confession.
Today would not be the day.
Today is not the day, so keep up on that. One final thing Nathan asked about an indulgence. We talked extensively about that yesterday. So why don't you pull up yesterday's morning show and learn all about indulgences.
And it's already past 10:30.
I think we've yammered enough, Jonathan, so perhaps it's time to wrap up for today.
Sure.
Wish everyone a beautiful Friday. We will live stream a daily Mass from here at noon tomorrow on Saturday. Stations of the Cross are this afternoon at 3 p.m.
Correct.
And Sunday Mass will be live streamed at 10 a.m. from here at St. Charles. Be sure to like, follow, all of those things. Share. And live
Can
in
you
hope.
send us a quick blessing?
May Almighty God pour out His gracious blessing upon you through the intercessions of Mary, the Holy Mother of God, St. Thomas Aquinas, and St. Mary Magdalene. May you be filled with every good gift you need this day, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Have a beautiful weekend. Take care.
God bless you guys.